Hello. I've learned the most from reading books. And as a young student, I've always been able to see in books the past and the future. Sometimes these visions of the future become quite compelling, and I'd like to share a few of those with you today. When we were reading as a doctoral students The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, there was a great story about Albert Einstein. Now, scientists at the time had thought they had solved all of the great mysteries of nature except for whether light was a wave or a particle, a little thing bothering them. Einstein wound up asking a very different question. As a small boy, he said, "If I traveled as fast as possible, what would I see?" A question perhaps without an answer. He noticed later, when riding on a train at full speed, when a car was going at the same speed on another train, they would appear as if they were immobile. From this, his reflections led to the 1905 theory of special relativity. Because of this, it gives us an idea that a paradigm shift doesn't occur by filling in the gaps of knowledge. It comes from replacing a question with a better question. And that's where I think design is today. In the case of Futurism, Rainer Banham tells a different story. Roughly the same time, Marinetti and the Italian Futurists, fascinated by the machine age, fascinated with all of these new modes of production. They take a vehicle and go out for a joyride, and they experience something that's never been experienced before, a car crash. In that process, they were flipped into a ditch of sewage coming from a factory, another building type that never existed. And in that moment, they were baptized into modernity. This is a unique experience and phenomena produced through industrial processes that was not available even 2 years before that. Now, my son, Peter Parker Michael, has reminded me to talk about transformers many years ago. Simple machines simply transfer energy in one direction to another, pulleys, ramps, things like that. It takes a higher level of creative intelligence to have a machine turn into another machine. And the Transformers franchise, made by Tomohiro Tomy and Hasbro and Marvel also, have shown how these transformations using CGI, for example, in their 1300 shows, create a situation of transformation as a mechanical, but also in many ways, a knowledge based system. On top of that, transducers are a different type of machine. Again, another higher order of thinking. A transducer transfers one form of energy, both internal and or external, into the environment by changing its phase states. Simondon, in his book on the mode of existence of technical objects, shows how these phase states would include the appearance and disappearance of things visible and invisible. For him, transducers are both physical, but they can also be conceptual and social too. These are devices that change the energy fields or the environment or the atmospherics in measurable ways. One of the most powerful books I've read is Bateson's Steps Towards an Ecology of Mind. He worked in cybernetics and many other fields too. He said we have mental ecologies that are just like gardens and that bad ideas are like weeds. He also pointed out that we have an internal mechanism of guidance system that is based on feedback, internal feedback loops, and that in an environment we have feedback with the environment and in feedbacks to us through a process also of reciprocity. And between these two different feedback systems, there's also a reciprocity too. So we have a dynamic, scintillating environment filled with different types of flows of data and intelligence, effects, and devices, all operating, whether they're soft machines or hard machines, in this punctuated dynamic equilibrium. Felix Guattari expands this too and points out that we are situated in multiple ecologies at the same time. We have a mental ecology, we operate in a social ecology, where our emotions are perhaps legible to others, and we also operate in the environment. The environment includes, for him, the media. And that takes us to affect theory. Emotional design, affective design, emotional robots, all of these new fields that are emerging within the design field are responding to this paradigm shift that is occurring. Affect is the precursor of emotion. It happens as a form of emergence. Affect is the feelings that you get when you notice the storm clouds forming above the mountain, or when the sun opens up the sunflowers to track it during its daily routes. So, the future of design, I would argue, is a paradigm shift grounded in the move from transformers to transducers. Previously, designers would design artifacts, objects, they would design services, they would design environments. Today, increasingly, designers are asked to design the systems that design these things, and increasingly to think about their interface. And for this reason, my takeaway, we can no longer use physics as the guidance system for design, because the core of future design will be ethics. Thank you.